really like people who go to seminars. Okay, because here we are at a seminar. There's an openness to new knowledge, and just a sense of moving forward and progressing in life that I really like about people who do that. Do you like to go to seminars, for instance? I'm not suggesting you use that exact thing, but I'm suggesting is you can talk about anything in an interesting way using this structure. So think about that. We don't have time to do it now, but after the talk, have a think about that. Before you go out tonight, maybe try to put some of your 5 qualities through this model and see if you can start using it. It's my favorite form of qualification. It's the main one that I use in all my interactions, and I sprinkle it through the whole interaction as I see fit. It's a great way of just learning to talk in this way. Attraction at the beginning, bit of qualification. All right. Here's some more qualification. Now I'll give you some light qualifiers. These are little pebbles you can throw in. Okay, throw these little pebbles in. If you're not sure where you are, you want to just a touch of qualification, a sprinkling of it here and there, and also to test if you can get that sense of agenda behind what you're saying. See if you can reach that tipping point of qualification. So expect playful cooperation with these. Be ready to cut the thread if they don't land. Be ready to change the subject if they don't land. For example, here's one. Innocuous question. How old are you? How old are you? Has anyone ever had a girl ask you that? Who's had a girl ask you that? Some of you. How old are you? And it gives you a feeling, doesn't it? Feeling. You want to give the right answer. So if you're 21, you become 23. If you're 23, you become 24. If you're 24, you become 26. If you're 27, you become 26. If you're 28, you become 26. If you're 35, you become 26. 45, 26. Right? You give whatever answer you feel is the best answer to give. Why? Because she's got value. You're trying to qualify to her. So I like to sometimes to flip that around a little bit, especially if sometimes I like to also know how old she is. If she says something that makes me think she might be a little young or a little old. How old are you? Like that. And very often she'll say how old she is, or she'll say guess or whatever. And I'll follow up with let me see your ID. Let me see your ID. Playful. It's a joke. A lot of times the girl will get her ID and hand it to you. I've had entire groups of 3 or 4 girls get their ID and give it to me, like I'm a bouncer or something like that, right? It's a sign there, If a girl's not interested, you say, how old are you? She's not going to be, give me your ID. She might laugh politely at the joke, but but something changes in the mind when the qualification tipping point's reached, and strange things can start happening. Ted Magnet likes this one. Can you move your eyebrows independently? Try it. She goes, right, it's kind of a fun, playful, light thing to try. Can you move your eyebrows independently? Like The Rock, up and down. And then you say, try it. Can you sing? Can you sing? This thing about, tone deaf people is kind of a deal breaker for me. Can you sing? Yeah, I can sing. Sing me something. Sing me your favorite ABBA tune. Right. It's playful thing. I've had girls sing, entire choruses of Mamma Mia and Fernando, whatever, in my ear. Before, showing me that they can sing. Just playful. This is just playful, fun, flirting stuff. Can you roll your tongue? This? That kind of thing. You can tease about whether she can do that or not. Can you roll your tongue? Just some playful pebbles to throw in. And then you start to progress to more medium kind of qualifiers. Open-ended questions like, so what's your story? Or tell me about yourself. Tell me something about yourself. Tell me something interesting about yourself. These are more open-ended, and if a girl's not into you, she won't go there. Okay? But if she is, you'll start to see things happening. She may pause. Don't be afraid of silence in this, sit back a little bit, relax, roll off for a second, give her a chance to think. All right? Remember the onus here, we're shifting the pressure slightly from you to perform as an approaching guy. Shifting the pressure slightly, shifting the load slightly more evenly towards her. You still have to create the chances, but you also want her to feel a sense of expectation from you. You're waiting to hear something. Okay? You have a standard that you want met. If you could do anything in the world without fear of failure, what would you do? If you could do anything in the world without fear of failure, what would you do? a bit deeper. Previous one, if you could go anywhere in the world that you haven't been yet, where would you go? That's a sin line. All right, you can soften these using the soft qualification we talked about before. So if you feel like saying, if you could do anything without fear of failure, what would you do? Because when I was a kid, I used to want to be a, right? You answer your own question, you generate some content. That's a way to soften these qualifiers. You will avoid at all costs, okay? This thing that I see so often, a misunderstanding of qualification where guys say, so what have you got going for more than your looks? What have you got going for you more than your looks? You know, such a, almost an angry thing, you know? That's not the way to go, in my opinion. It should be playful, teasing, and if you need to soften things up a little bit, then just make some statements, answer your own question. Sexual qualification. You guys want to know a little bit about that? Sure. All right. One of my favorite things to do, I'm getting louder, aren't I? It's exciting. One of my favorite things to do is yeah, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it. Cajun's question game is also a great way to start qualifying sexually. To start to imply that you're looking for something in that way. Things like, what's the craziest place you've ever had sex? One of the Cajun's great questions. You know? And one of the things about the question game is, I always frame it like you're trying to get the person to lose, you know? We're asking each other questions. A question game is essentially a game where I ask her a question, she asks me a question, I ask her a question, she asks me a question. It just goes back and forth like that. You're not allowed to repeat questions back to each other. And the questions have to be interesting. That's what the game is. And Cajun has this great structure when he has these different questions that he's figured out work great. It's really fantastic. And one of the things, I like to frame it like, I'm going to try and make you lose. You know, I'm going to try and make you lose. And she said, well, I like to win, you know. I said, okay, well, I'll try and make you lose. So I'll ask her a question like that. And I'll say, damn, I thought I was going to get you with that one, you know. You're obviously very sexually comfortable. You know, I like that. It's cool. All right. Starting to set frames, sexual frames here. I'm starting to... another way of setting sexual frames, when I start talking about, I love a girl who's adventurous and open-minded. I love people who travel. There's an adventurousness and an open-mindedness about them that I really like. She'll agree with that as she's qualifying with you. And then now we're valuing adventurousness. We're valuing open-mindedness. I talk about creative people who are open to new things, you know, open to new experiences. She's going to start, we're agreeing with that. So when I say, hey, you're really cool, we should exchange numbers. Okay? We've already valued adventurousness and open-mindedness. We've set the frame that those are positive, good things, and it's what we are, because she's qualified into that. Okay? So she's more likely to give the number. When you're taking her from the club, leaving the club together, and her friends come and say, where are you going, or what are you doing, as friends are wanted to do, to check up on their friends, she's much more likely to think, no, I'm feeling adventurous, I'm feeling open-minded, I'm going to go on an adventure with this guy. She'll say to her friends, I'm cool, that's cool, I'll text you, don't worry about it. Does that make sense? When you get to the bedroom, all right, and you want to go into the seduction phase, you want to start having a sexual situation with the girl, it's much, much smoother to go in there if you valued things like adventurousness, open-mindedness, sexual expressiveness, comfort in your own skin, these things, okay? Does that make sense? Rather than telling an elaborate story about how my friend got mugged in Sydney, Australia, and you should really be careful these days who you talk to, and now that may be a good story, and you might get a really good reaction from that, if you tell it well, and you really convey how badly he was injured, right? Okay, you get a reaction, but it's not a helpful reaction. So you can see the difference there. And you can even lead to even more harder qualifications. Things like, you're a beautiful girl, but there's a lot of beautiful girls in Vegas. Tell me something. What are 3 things about you that are interesting, or that make you special, or that make you stand out? Something like that. What are 3 things about you that your friends value about you? I'll often, say you're a beautiful girl. It's an old routine. You're a beautiful girl. There are many beautiful girls in the world, and then I'll go on with a question like that. Okay. If she starts, a lot of times that won't fly if she's not into you. Okay, because it's a hard qualification. But when that starts to fly, you're at that tipping point. You start to notice it. I want you to keep an eye out for this. When you throw these little pebbles, these little qualification things I've given you, have a look for that. Have a look for that loaded agenda kind of conversation you're getting from her. Have a look at what she's saying behind the words. Is she just having a chat, or is she pushing past that tipping point and she's now trying to impress you? All right. So the last part of qualification is to show some interest. I want to show some interest. And it can range from something as simple and light as saying, just looking at her and going, nice. Looking at her and going, okay. Like that, like you approve. Or you can go a little bit further. And you want to calibrate it. This is another little calibration thing you need to do with qualification. You need to calibrate it. How much is she investing? To how much reward you're going to give back. If you say, do you like to travel? And she says, yeah, I just was in Australia for a whole year. And you go, wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Really, that's incredible. And you start to go way too much. It's too much. Another way I like to do is when I first met you, I thought you were going to be one of these. When I first met you, I thought you were going to be one of these, boring club girls without very much to say. But now I get to know you. You're really cool. When I first met you, I thought you were going to be X. Now I get to know you. You're Y. Now, that's cool. I like that. You can show interest in the third person. If she starts talking about how she's lived in several countries or she's done different things, she starts to talk about these things, I might say, that's really cool. And I'll go back to what I was telling you before. I'll say, there's something about people who travel, there's an openness and an adventurousness about them that I really like. That's really cool. It softens the interest shown, but it allows me to set those frames still, and it allows me to still show my interest. Sometimes the compliment will hang awkwardly in the air. Maybe you overdo it a little bit, and you need to release. Okay, this is optional. You do it every now and then. You'll figure it out. Sometimes you can do it in a kind of a sexual way. You kind of look at her like, get away from me. You're making me think bad thoughts. Or get away from me. I'm saving myself for marriage, something like that. And give her a little push away. Now, a tip on this push. All right, this was a mistake I made in the early days. When people said push, I thought they meant push, like a little push. Now, to a girl in 4-inch stilettos, a little push goes a long way, okay? And I've had a girl, you'll get away from me. And you touch them barely, they start going, right? So it's more kind of, sometimes I just do this and I'll just move away. So be careful when you push. Just a little bit of pressure. Don't push too hard, all right? Other examples of some more playful releases, say, that's cool. I really like that. It's great. Too bad you're so little. Too bad you're from Kansas. Something like that. Some irrelevant tease. Or even, that's really cool. That's awesome. And then pause for a second and say, this isn't going to work out between us. We're too similar. I wouldn't take your shit. You wouldn't take my shit. We'll fight, and I'll win. The whole relationship will be based on fights and make-up sex. That's no way to have a relationship. Something like that can work very well. It's Braddock's line. Tonight, Gandhi said, you never know what results may come of your actions, but if you do nothing, there will be no result. You never know what results may come of your actions, but if you do nothing, there will be no result. Tonight, I want to encourage you to take action. All right? I've given you a lot of material there. I've given you some structures. You've done your exercise. You've got your qualities. All right? Go through the material you've got. Select one or two. Don't do too many. One or two bits. Get them down. Memorize them if it's a routine, or if it's a structure from your own exercise using that soft qualification structure. Practice it a couple of times, get it rolling off your tongue. Because the hardest thing is to train your brain at first to begin to qualify. When you start to get a taste for it, when you start to see that tipping point coming, like I've been describing, and you start to get a feeling of qualifying somebody, it begins to come much more naturally. But if this is something you've got a problem with, and a lot of you guys have been saying it's been a difficult thing, all right, get one piece and just force it in, to every set you do tonight, and see what happens. eventually qualification will become a natural process. As Future was talking about this earlier, how the linear emotional progression model very, very soon becomes a circular thing. Qualification and attraction, pulling in, pushing away, compliments, releases, all these things, all these little calibrations that you need to make, they become very natural and they all start to happen very organically and very flowingly. All right? But at first, you need to take the baby steps. You need to take the training wheels and train your mind how to think along these lines. So move forward. Move forward in your interactions. Move forward in the emotional progression model. Move forward in your qualification. Or to put it more biblically, go forth and qualify. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Now I'll be outside in the hall for the next hour or so. So feel free to ask me any questions. I'll be around the entire weekend, actually. I love to answer questions. I love to discuss these things with you guys. So don't be shy by any means. Come and ask me whatever questions you have about qualification, fast escalation, day game, sexualizing the conversation, all the different things. Come and ask me about those things, all right? I'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much.